Hello. Hi there, Smart Alec. How you doing? Here we are, and guess what? Another absolutely... Oh, morning, Graham. Another absolutely freezing British morning. It's April, yet it's still really cold. Unbelievable. So yeah, Smart Alec, it has been a while, but it hasn't been that long. It's been nearly 2 weeks. So what I decided to do is just take a little bit of time to do some organisation, because I needed the basically morning last week to work things out that I'm doing. So I was doing a bit of filming, some stuff. None of it I liked, and absolutely binned a lot of it. Well, I haven't completely binned it, but it's sort of sitting there. So I did some content, didn't like that. And then this week I decided, I realised that like I haven't actually wrote any music like fully on my own ever, and it's always been in front of you guys. So I decided just to have some time getting up in the morning, but really early again. I'm back to like 5 o'clock. To get up and just to start a studio session. That's been absolutely brilliant. Not saying I'm not going to do lives, just this week. I'll work out what I'm going to do for next week in a minute. So it's been really good, actually. In fact, one of the tracks that I did, literally it's only had 3 sessions on it. But it's actually remarkable, like how much kind of gets done in that time. Because it was really about time to start thinking about McRocklin and Hutch music. So I just thought, you know what would Riding Out Part 3 sound like? So I just started making it, basically. And it's a style I know well. So been working on that, and it's pretty much been the template that I use, and it's come together really, really good. So that's been a good thing. And then just really I've been really interested in sort of motivational stuff. So there's a few, I'll wait till some more people kind of get on here. I've been reading this, I've started reading this really good book called Feel Good Productivity he's actually a medical doctor called Ali Abdullah. And I just stumbled on him because he's a bit of a YouTuber, you know. And but the thing about his content is it's usually most of the time clinically evidence-based, so that's why I like it. So it's like clinical. It's had, you know, a lot of the stuff he says is fairly robust, I would say, and reliable. So he's got the Feel Good Productivity book, and it's quite good. It's evidence-based, which I like. And he quotes a lot of like psychologists and doctors and stuff in it as well, and talks about experiments that were done. So there's just at the beginning of the book, there's a little bit which I'm going to talk about because I think it's like one of those things that's important, and I'll just wait for some more people to come on. Really, if not, they're going to miss out on something amazing. Well, they won't because they can just watch it back, can't they? But where is everybody? That's what I want to know. Oh, there's Pete. Well, there's good timing, Pete. So yes. I can... how are you doing? I never go away, just like occasionally. It's I always think people are thinking I'm giving up, or like I'm lying in bed and I can't get up and I'm like sick of my life. No, it's just like I go off and do other things. So I mean, my challenge at the minute is making like content and learning to video edit. Like I'm constantly arsing about with a camera. So actually, there's been a studio upgrade, which it's been very exciting for me. And what it is a camera arm. I've bought a camera arm. I wish you could see it. But I've got a camera arm that extends out, and it's got like 3 sections to it. It wobbles a bit, but it seems to be holding up all right. I haven't noticed wobbling today. But so I've got a camera arm, and it just means I can set different angles, and I can grab the thing and loosen it and pull it towards me and aim shots a lot better just on my own rather than having to get up, walk around the keyboard. and line a shot up. This is much, much better. So because I've got that, I've been able to move a stand off the floor, and then I can get my display in front of me, so I'm a bit more central. And then it's just getting the angle right, isn't it? So you're looking into the camera. I don't know, like, because I've noticed that when I'm looking into the camera, I'm looking above it or somewhere else a lot of the time. So, kind of, I can't see myself really at the same time as looking in the camera, but I'm getting a little bit closer to that. Hi, Sean. Yes, I'm back. I'm back. So it's just, it's balancing all of the things I want to do is like really hard because I'm busy, man. God, I mean, I shouldn't complain because this is the dream, right? Isn't it? Sorry if you're wondering what I'm doing. Right. Product review. This is a brush by a company that I don't actually know who it is, but it's like it's a car detailing brush, and it's great for just picking up, right, and having a little bit of a dust about your room. Great for guitar pickups. You can get in there with that. So if you haven't got one, they do sell them on Amazon. Car detailing, but it's great. You can do keyboard. I'm sure you've all got one. There you go. That was my top tip. But yes, no, it's nice to be on the live, Sean. Again, it's great. So, like this week, I was thinking, like one of my ideas was, I know what I need to do is I should do like a little backing track, and then do a guitar lesson to go with it. So I started making a backing track today, and then not today, it was a few days ago, and it came out really good. I'm not saying that like I would put like a bad backing track, but it came out good, and I went, oh, should I put this up as a backing track and then do a lesson about how to play it? Because that sounds really good, doesn't it? And then I'll show you like the approach and how to do stuff. So did the backing track, and it's got like so I designed it, you'll hear it actually, so like the choruses, you've got plenty of gaps to do ad-libs between the main melody. You've got like verses which are like broken down, so you got to think about versey stuff, and then it's got like a proper like big breakdown with some soul chords to do something maybe on a clean sound. And then I've got like another 16 bar section where there's like 2 modulations and then end choruses, but I'll play it because I thought I'd do just a little bit of a track breakdown. But actually all the synth parts are done, and it was wrote in approximately so there's like 3 1.5 hour sessions, so I was quite pleased with myself. But one of the things I've realised is I haven't like fully made music or like that, where I've completely done like a whole section of stuff for, I don't know, I'm always on a live or in front of people, so it was really interesting and quite difficult, believe it or not, just to sit in a room on my own and do some music. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's really good. And yeah, so we'll hear it. And then the other thing is just looking at, because I'm not giving up or anything, this is part of the journey. So as you know, I've been making content, and I'm not like, one of the things that happens when I'm doing something new, and I'm glad that I'm doing it, because it kind of puts me in the shoes of people who I coach for music right at the beginning of their journey. You have this idea, again, it's the 4 C's, isn't it? You have this idea that you commit to, and you've really got to do it. Especially when you're in your Middle Ages, right? Not the medieval Middle Ages, but the Dark Ages. But oh, right, has it gone? Are you still there? I don't know what a feed is. I'll take it that's this. Is everybody else still here? Anyway, what was I talking about? All right, good. So I'll have to come back to some of these comments. So yeah, so it's been really interesting. Just like putting the 3 videos up that I've done, and then just continuing to make content. So I have a whole list of things that I make. And like one thing I'll go for the most challenging, hardest stuff and like video stuff, and then not be like happy with it, and then it's like all a bit of a disaster. But then you think, oh, it's completely rubbish. But then there's always wins, isn't there? And the wins are that, like, at the very least, I'll learn how to improve my workflow. Not that I like the word workflow, but I improve. I practice at kind of making videos quicker, right? So that's the very least thing. And the other thing is, I can learn sort of what I need to do in the setup. It's really weird doing video content because it's like, it just seems to be, apart from the overall presentation, which I'm working loads on, the rest, that's probably your biggest jump up in quality, is like having really good sound on your mic, right? And actually just waving your hands about and being visually interesting. Which is why I've got, I pulled closer to the camera now, and wave my hands about. So that's one of, believe it or not, that's like an upgrade, okay? And that's great because that one's like free of charge, isn't it? But then other things are just like slight little tweaks, isn't it? Like having a light where, I can slightly control what's going on. I do like beauty lighting though. Getting the bigger light, so I've got the softer light. Camera arm, and then I've been and then I was trying to get a lapel lavalier mic, which I've got because I use one on the live with Thomas, but I'm never happy the way with it sounds. It always sounds like really boxy, and apparently this is a thing with them, so I can never get it to sound as good as this, and I'm used to this now, so I'm kind of going with this big mic for everything for now, till I can find something a lot better. And the headphones is the thing as well. So those are things I haven't worked out yet, which I'm just kind of with, but for the live anyway. When I'm doing content, it's alright because I don't need the headphones on unless I'm on doing the music, which is fair enough. So that's a few breakdowns, but when you're kind of up against the wall and you're doing all of this stuff, and your motivation can go like, and I need to be motivated right now. There's a couple of things that we know will help you, right? And that is actually just sitting down, right, and doing the work. So when I was talking back in January, I talked about it's a bit, so all right, it'll do. Back in January, I know that I talked about what was I talking about? I did talk a little bit about motivation, and how to understand that a little bit. And one of the things was that was quite interesting, and I'll tell you what it is. I'll just switch this. So we're on wired. That'll improve things. So my internet might be slowing down there a little bit, and it should be fine now. Okay. Magnus, yeah. No, I won't. So one of the things that we know is, that I don't believe in the whole. I'm not in the mood. I'm not feeling it. I'm not vibing with it. I'm not going to do it today, basically. And to me, like, my job is doing music, right? So I don't have that opportunity to do that. But what I do understand, right, is actually by sitting down and doing the very thing that I'm meant to be doing, even though I don't want to do it. Like, I couldn't be asked to do this today. To be honest, I was wanting to kind of I was wanting to do music. I wasn't feeling it, and that's actually the case with most mornings, because I'm a human being. I'm warm in bed. Who wants to get up? I need a bit of time, but I know that the mornings are extra special in terms of creativity, and I know fundamentally it's overall what I'm supposed to be doing as a human being, because that's what I've dreamt about doing since I was a child. So once I get up here and I sit down and I start doing the work, as you can probably see if you watch back this stream, a slightly lukewarm Hutch, and then I'm starting to warm up because I'm talking about stuff and it's getting exciting. So what happens is when you sit down and do the very thing which is happening in front of your eyes now, the good ideas and the inspiration and the feeling of, and mainly that feeling of being inspired that we chase basically comes to us, doesn't it? And that's great. And there's a couple of ways that we can keep that vibe going that I was talking about, okay? And to keep you consistent in whatever you're doing. I'm not talking about just live streaming, it could be guitar practice, right? But keeping you consistent, right? Is you can form a habit, and habits are good. So when I'm coaching anybody, right, I'm always in on habits and making people do minimum viable commitments, and then them saying I can do 4 hours a day because they've come to coaching and they're super motivated and suddenly they can do what they're doing because time appears from nowhere, and then they go off and do the thing, do a couple of days, 4 hours or whatever, and then fall over, and then it all just turns to crap, right? And then you end up lowering the minimum viable commitment to like ridiculously low, like me, like 5 minutes, right? But there's always time to do something, and it just takes that 5 or 10 minutes to actually get that feeling, you know? So, you know, habits good, but they are brittle. Habits are pretty brittle. So when you miss a habit, it's like, ugh, or shall I miss it? Or you can play with it, right? They're not as robust as we would like. So one of the other ways that that to approach this is to think of it. You need a couple of other things to reinforce it. Okay, so to reinforce things is something like a deadline. So deadlines are good. So you can set yourself a deadline. I'm going to set. You could be, as a track you could be finished. You could set the deadline to release it, and then it has to be done by that day. And suddenly, time appears from nowhere. It's almost like effortless. Like other days, I'm like, God, I'm working like I've got so much on, right? And then I can't finish this one thing that I'm doing, and that's just not true. Because fundamentally, who controls time? We control our perception of time. And when you're motivated to do something, that time just appears, doesn't it? So that's one thing is is to have a deadline. And the other thing is to have an event. Now, events have served me very, very well, and it's not something that I'm stopping doing or anything like that. Definitely not. But there are only so many days in the week. So an event for me was to kind of turn up and do this every day, whatever, with you guys watching, but sometimes I'd spin my wheels. But fundamentally, it's a good thing. But it's a great example, of an event, isn't it? Even bigger event for me was, as we know, coming back into being a shredder. And also, it's an event plus a laboratory, okay? Is doing the lives with Thomas, by the way. There is one on Saturday coming up, and I'll be there. That's a perfect event because it can happen every 2 weeks, okay? And it gives me 2 weeks to work on to improve my guitar playing, okay? So, whether it'll be, as we know, the economy picking or hybrid picking, I'm gonna practice this skill. I'm going to test it out in my own time in the house, and then I'm going to do that final test on the live. So that's a great thing. And things like Thomas's, when he does the challenges, are great. And these things are really important to do, if you're not jumping on lives like me or whatever, or live with Thomas, or doing any performance kind of things. These are really, really important because what are we practicing to do? What are we giving to the world? And that's the question, isn't it? It's like making your connection. And these are little fragmental connections to the world that we're making that are really, really important because it's the only way that you can get the reliable data is to put the thing out. Because fundamentally, what are we doing? We're serving the world with our music. But obviously, it's, there are other ways, right? And what I'm interested in at the minute is that, so there's this book, right? So I've just started reading this, right? I've actually got it on Audible, but I got the hard book, right? And this is like Ali Abdullah's Feel Good Productivity. Now, he's a YouTuber, right? But his stuff's really good. And the thing about the good thing I like about Ali is he's actually a medical doctor who turned into a YouTuber, which I find really, really interesting. He left his medical career and became very, very successful as a YouTuber. But a lot of his content is evidence-based, so it's quite trustworthy, you know? So in this book, I mean, he quotes a lot of psychologists' experiments and things like that, and then tells you how you can apply it to everyday life. But there was one thing in here that I thought, this is really good, and I've forgotten about all of this, and I'll just allow me to find it, because there's a little list, right? Yeah, right. So I was thinking about, like, probably unaware of this, but you know, when we're young, when we're kids, we'll have lots of time, don't we, to, like, you know, go on our bikes, go on our skateboards, do tricks, learn guitar, right? You know, time is of abundance, isn't it? But we're also very, very motivated. You know, there's learning to play guitar with me wasn't just learning to play guitar. It was psychologically, it was a method of separating me from the crowd, and hopefully, but it didn't really work out like this, to be a potential mating partner for a beautiful woman, right? And I thought that was going to happen playing shred guitar. I thought, right, okay, I could play diatonic groups of 4 ladies, okay, alternately picked on in every key at 200 BPM would solve that problem. I was very wrong. I was very wrong. What it did is it ensured that I was still in my parents throughout my entire teens and younger 20s. And the only friend I had was my metronome. Actually, it wasn't quite as bad as that, because I've met the missus, so it sort of worked. Yeah, so there's Pete. Look, Ali's channel was a game changer for me a year or so. I can be quite cynical sort, and the evidence-based approach really won over. We'll definitely pick the book up if you recommend. Yeah, I do. So, I mean, I'm not all the way through it, but this is the thing I like, because you know that I talk about archetypes, right? So I'll talk about when we're looking at the creative journey and the overview, all right, obviously we're connecting to the world, right? But the rest, the actual act of what we're doing is the overarching thing is this 3-role theory, this basically the Walt Disney archetypes, isn't it? We're talking dreamer, he would call it dreamer, oh God, what did he call it? Dreamer, realist, and then critic, but that's been slightly modified through coaching with Mike, and we change it like conjurer, which is a little bit more active than the dreamer, isn't it? It's a bit, oh yes, I'm conjuring, and you're making your music rather than I'm having a dream. So conjuring's a little bit more active. And then we have the creator, because that's what we're doing. We're creating, aren't we? And I think the thing about the creator, it's in amongst that very divergent thinking. But you know, when we're actually acting out the divergent thinking, there has to be an element of design. But what we're trying to do is practice the art of seeing design through discovery. Okay. So that's like one thing. And then the connector is just all that, you know, for me, that stressful finishing phase. What has to be done for this to be connected to the world? Because at that point, that's the journey of, it's not you. You know, when your music is never you. But it you know, it doesn't belong to you. In the words of Stephen Pressfield, it actually belongs to the world to enjoy. So those are archetypes. But then, you know, that really enthusiasm and that motivation to like get you to doing what you're doing. And to me, today, it's kind of been this and a new sort of track that was going to be a backing track, which will probably be a McRocklin Hutch track. But anyway, I'll come to that. So what he talks about, right, is we can have 8. There are 8 personalities, okay, that we can have that make things exciting, okay, and we can play these, and all of these are just brilliant things to motivate you to do your music or to do your practice, and we're kind of already doing them. This is the interesting thing, we're already doing them, but we can kind of exaggerate them or purposefully play each one. I mean, music's such a good thing because it ticks so many boxes, and I think like in this book it's kind of suggesting you do one, but actually we do all of them, but we can pick one character and play that particularly. A bit like playing a computer game. I mean, he talks about World of Warcraft, being a wizard, or you can be a knight or whatever. We can actually play one of these personalities, so I'll tell you what the personalities are. Very interesting, and we'll think about music, right? So the first one is the collector. Now, God, tell me about collecting. Who doesn't collect? When it comes to music, I think collecting's more like hoarding, isn't it? So collecting, when I think about collecting, right, I don't think about jumping on the Kiesel site, right, and building more guitars or getting more pedals or doing stuff like that. I do think about, in a way, collecting samples, for example, okay, and building kits. This is why I like Exo drums, because actually I can, if I fancy doing a bit of collecting, I can just simply go on there and then grab some samples and actually see how they work together. So it's very easy. You can collect, you can see all of your one-shot samples, and you can start collecting, and you can find things, right, like an archaeologist that you've probably forgotten about on your hard drive through that. That's what's so exciting about it. You can go through all your folders without seeing folders and actually find little gems, little diamonds, to build your kit. And then when you do that, it gets you very excited, because then you think, oh, I wonder what this is going to sound like, in a full track. And sure enough, before you know it, you're in your door and you're making a new track. I mean, that happened to me on this. So being a collector, what other things do we collect? We do collect $29 plugin. Yeah, Microns, they are. But do you need all of those plugins? I mean, I'm going to show you like what I've got going sort of in my project here to get the sound that I've got, which is pretty close to like, it's by the time, I ran it through AI mastering on London, it was sounding pretty reasonable. So I would say like 90% of the mix is done, but like that's to do with the way that I've got my template set up in a minute. So collecting, I would count building a guitar tone as well. So that's been a really good one. I wanted to build a tone that was dynamic the other day, that would basically that would like I could practice with, and I could practice because I was listening to a bit of Jeff Beck and how like every note's like different. So I wanted a tone that was like dynamic. So I built one of those, and then before I knew it, my practice sessions weren't a chore. Mind you, when they do become a chore, I'm very, I'm like, right, okay, something has to be done here. 2 seconds. Sorry, got loads of apps open, which is why it's like really slow at the minute. Yeah, we're all right. Okay, so collecting, building a guitar tone, very important. Because we can get motivation for our practice and that, and we can collect these tones. We can have lots of different tones, can't we? And all of these tones can potentially, as long as we don't get absolutely absorbed in it, help us to inspire us to write music, which then inevitably leads to a song and good engagement. We have the competitor, right? So competing is brilliant. Getting yourself a sparring partner when you're playing guitar, or a production partner. Having said the competitor thing is one thing, but also working in parallel to a common shared goal is also motivating. So, having that competitor thing, even if the person doesn't know that you're competing, but it's a benchmark, isn't it? So with Thomas, sometimes I compete, sometimes we're in parallel, but it's all done in fun, isn't it? But whether we are or not, in my head, it's a way of gaining that sort of motivation. So coming into it, especially with shred guitar, guitarists can be competitive, can't they? So being aware of that, being a competitor, being like an athlete, approaching your music like that, really helpful. An explorer. Now, I love the exploring one. So exploring different ways to do your template, different workflow ideas, wins, problems, opportunities, and then exploring the opportunities that give you. Wins, problems, and opportunities are absolutely brilliant way. But now, because this has reminded me, I can think of wins, problems, and opportunities as if I'm an explorer. And like even now, when I'm talking about it, I'm getting very excited. I love the idea of being an explorer with like a crazy kind of hat on and being in the jungle, but not a real jungle with parrots and lions and tigers and stuff like that, or poisonous frogs, even worse, which, the ones that fly out the trees and have got suckers on their hands. Not one of those. But just being an explorer in the safety of my own home. So win, problems, opportunities are absolutely great, but they can be dry, and they are motivating. Talking about your wins is like, oh God, this went, like all of my video sessions last week went absolutely terrible. But because I was doing my wins, problems, and opportunities, right, there was lots of problems, and I was able to free write it and beat myself up for being a terrible person, which just isn't true. But then I could get to the actual real problems that did exist, and I was able to come up with opportunities. And then you get certain excitement out of that. But then to compound on that, when you have these opportunities, they are opportunities for exploration. So I think that's incredibly motivating when I apply sort of what Ali's saying in here to my own practice. And then being the creator. So we know about playing the creator roles, just going in and just making music, isn't it? And that's where the heart of what I coach is all about, isn't it? Is telling everybody, right, in the world, right, that they are all creators. Because honestly, I get really tired of hearing, I'm not a creative person. Who told you that? Nobody it's just the world tells you that, don't you? Because you're like, when you're a kid, you are creative, you're doing all sorts of stuff and you have no judgment, you do whatever you want, and then suddenly you grow up and then you're told to be an adult, right? And then it's like, oh, you've got to be sensible now, and then for some reason the creativity gets killed, right? Well, that's not true, is it? And we can all be creative. As I said, I did a whole talk in January about it, and creativity is so important because it is a part of adult life. Creativity, the definition is, it's a method of operation. And by saying it's a method of operation, it's just solving a problem. Okay, so when you're doing your wins, problems, and opportunities after your sessions, and I hope everybody is doing them here, when you're doing that, what it means is when you're listing your opportunities, aren't you? Your creative mind is engaging because you're coming up with experiments to try out, so you can get the data. Then that's fundamentally really all you can do. That is what it's about. If you want to get better at guitar or anything, wins, problems, and opportunities, that awareness of what the problem is, and then coming up with solutions, even if they're not the right solution, and just running them as experiments, like a scientist, like an explorer, is the way forward. I'm on one of my big rants. So we've got 4 more to do here. I'll have to get through. Storytelling. Storytelling's a great thing. Lyrics, songs are brilliant. Just sitting down and writing. Now, the thing with me in storytelling is I went through a phase of just writing stories for 5 minutes because it was like stories and music are the same thing, aren't they? Fundamentally, it's a manipulation of thoughts and feelings over time. And when we write a story, when we're using classic storytelling technique of situation conflict resolution. When you write a little bit of a story, what we can explore is a character and then the character's feelings towards a situation. And we can convert that in very numerous interesting ways that I coach on. Sorry, I'm plugging my coach in here. That you can do in your music. So you can explore those emotions, can't you? And we can tell a story because music, we have the fourth dimension of time. We can then play that story out metaphorically through our music. We can even do it in as improvisation. Sometimes, like, you can write stories. Like, I'll have a certain story in my head when I'm playing a solo, and if it pops into my head, I'll think, well, how can I play this story out in a guitar solo? And, I'll do all that wonderful thing of feeling tension and release in my body, and before you know it, you're completely lost in the music and absolutely absorbed, and you're in that golden flow zone, But storytelling is super important because our music is meant to be telling a story, and even though it's not like the story of Star Wars, because you can't get, your music can't like talk like that, can it, and be literal. But the wonderful thing about music is everybody can be a storyteller, and so we can all be authors, can't we, just by listening to a piece of music and having our own thoughts and feelings and memories evoked or potential stories of what that music could be is a fascinating thing that music has. And I'm sure there's a book called Text and the Author, which is about that very thing, about the actual listener, viewer of a piece of work being as valid as the actual author, creator of it, because they have their own thoughts and feelings about it. The Joker. Well, a bit of comedy's good. Now, I'm not fully sure about the sort of... the one bit I'm not sure about is the joking bit, but I think like humour's incredibly motivating. And one thing that I do think is very difficult to do in music, right, especially when we're playing guitar, is to have that sense of humour. And I'll just cite the late great Eddie Van Halen for this, right, because the one thing I always picked up on as a kid is when he played guitar, it sounded really cheeky and fun and childish and joking. He was like making fun, wasn't it? And I just thought, like, how, and I still can't work it out properly now, how do you have that vibe, that cheeky kind of go-lucky vibe in your guitar playing? Like, everything, when you think about it now, can you think of a guitar player now that has that kind of, probably apart from Thomas, that actually has that vibe, that fun, cheeky vibe? I think like everything's like, I go on my Instagram feed and it's like million miles an hour, but like dead serious, up and down a minor scale, and then some crazy jazz thing where it's like emotionally so complicated. I'm like, I'm confused. I don't hear that kind of solid humour. Hi, Stelly, how you doing? So, and then there's a right, Nuno, there you go. Of course, Nuno, but then his playing's very like Eddie Van Halen though, isn't it? All right then. The director. So, what does he say about the director? The director likes to plan, organise and lead others and can fit into many different roles and activities, from directing stage performance, running the company, to running, to working in a political or social advocacy. So we can all be directors in our music, can't we? We are directors of our instruments. That's another really good archetype to play. So the director is something that we can think about, or I'll be thinking about, certainly in my drafting phase of music, putting something together that actually emotionally reflects on the story that you're trying to tell. It optimizes on the tension and release of music. And then the kinesthist. Oh God, I can't say the name. The kinesthist. I'll show you the word. It's there. that one. Right. So finds play physical activities like acrobatics and gymnastics and free running. So I would say that's definitely in the shred guitar world, isn't it? Or guitar in general these days is kind of seen how far you can go, even with music technology. How far can we take our processes to go? And again, it's that, the competitive side as well. It's linked with that, and I think a lot of, you see, I like all of that kind of sort of competitive side of guitar playing, and the physical, and especially the physical thing of going beyond what you think is possible. So this has been a thing with me since I'd say 2014 when I started getting coached. Is I didn't have much belief in myself in terms of what I was capable of doing. I was, if I did 7 hours work that day, I was burnt out, right? And that's just not true. And it's just like some weird belief that I fostered because other people around me were like that. And it's just not true. We're capable. I mean, I get up in the morning, right, and I do music all morning. I can be on a live stream with you guys, and then like basically dropping the daughter off at school next. Then I'm at work, and then like in the morning, like today's morning session, I'll be doing loads of like compositional stuff. I'll be on a computer. I'll be just writing bits of music with people. For like 3 hours this afternoon. I'll have a couple of hours like playing, plus writing, doing more production kind of stuff, all therapeutic. And then I'll be home and I'm teaching a few lessons, and then I'll probably do a little bit of guitar practice just to review on what I've been through in the day. And that's a hell of a lot of music. And that's like generally my day to day, 6 days a week actually. Saturday's that, plus then doing a live with Thomas. So that kind of the physical side and going beyond what you think you can do, really sort of like fascinates me as well, because especially when we're looking at things like, the book Rise of Superman by Stephen Kotler, where he talks about extreme sports athletes and sort of what they're capable of doing. You can see that like what you think, you can go much beyond, but there we go. So that's the things that I wanted to share with you, was the collector, competitor, explorer, creator, storyteller, joker, director, kineticist, and that is those. But in this book, it's got like these experiments, but amazing. So I'm building that into the coaching, playing these different archetypes. I remember having a conversation with another coach a while ago. I wonder if he's still going. But anyway, and that it was like one of these calls very early on, and actually this coach, he was doing his PhD. He was from California he was doing his PhD in California in psychology. So anyway, we met up and we had a chat, and like the one thing he was talking about, but he didn't have any kind of method or evidence around it, was just getting back to that childlike, inquisitive sort of approach and how you could do that. But there wasn't anything particularly firm there, whereas like Ali has kind of got that, and I can see how me as a younger Tim would play all of those, naturally play the explorer and all these things, but unaware. So, and being awareness, as you know, is one of the main things with being a musician, well, in life in general, as being aware of particularly the problems. Because if we're aware, we can fix those problems. If we're aware that we can play different characters and different archetypes, then it's something we can try to get the enthusiasm back into what we're doing. Right, I think I'm about done with this. Was that all right? I just want to whiz back and just have a look at some of the comments. Yeah, so yes, so I'm definitely back. I just go for a little holiday to do other things. But I'm definitely always inspired. If I'm not inspired, believe you me, I'm going to find a way to be inspired, because I don't fancy doing anything else. I was going to say I can't do anything other than music, right? And then that's kind of getting into a belief, because then that starts going into I've got severe dyslexia and I wasn't crap at school and all this kind of stuff. But I've decided to put that aside and assume that I have a choice in life. And my choice is that I can't see anything changing till the day I die. I think I'll be going down either, hopefully not sat in front of a computer trying to make a beat, right? Because that's not very romantic on your death, is it? I wanna die shredding on my feet, which I probably won't be. I'll probably be sitting down. Hopefully not on a live stream, but you know, I don't like. It's not going to stop. It's always going to be here in some kind of form. God knows what it'll be like when I'm, you know. Because I'm not going to stop when I'm old. See, the thing is, it's like I'm not going to stop when I'm like in my 80s if I make it to that. There's no chance of that happening, because simply for this reason that all the people here who are playing instruments and doing music and engaging with music, when you're older, it is a massive protective factor, because you're exercising your brain. Like my godmother, she's like 80, right? And she uses music to keep her going. So she's playing loads of hymns in the house, practicing them up, and then doing the services, you know, or she's doing like the assembly at the school, or she's teaching maths, or she's doing these things. And it's keeping you alive. So, you know, that whole music thing, like throughout our lives is, you know, it's a massive protective factor. So it's not something that's ever gonna stop. And you never slow down. I mean, God, Michelangelo must be a fair age. And look at him. Amazing. So, try not to get Magnus Pi level with the hands. I'll try not now. So, Pete, at least... Right. So, Alice Changer was a game changer for me a year ago. Quite cynical, sod, evidence-based approach really won me over. Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. I really liked his one on skincare. In fact, I went and bought the products. So did you get a hot lady after all that? Well, I did. I've got like the missus, you know, so it's kind of like served me well, really. But I thought there was going to be a harem of them initially. I thought there was going to be more than one on the go, and they'd all be in love with me, and like, I don't know, it's just crazy mental brain. What I wasn't expecting was my single bed for so long in my parents' house, and a metronome going ding, 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 ding. Probably playing the Paul Gilbert exercise still after, you know, doing it since I was like, you know, 9 years old or something. £30 Waves plugins, yeah. Right, what is it with Waves? Like, honestly, like I've got the odd Wave plugin, then like want us update, and then they want money off you. I mean, you know, taking advantage. Good morning, Stelly. No, I can't think of any. No. And Pete. Thanks, Tim. There was a lot of valuable information here. Very good. Now, one thing I'm doing quite a bit of at the minute, if anybody is interested, is I'm doing one-to-one coaching for an hour. So if any of you are stuck, and it's totally different, we're not going to do music exercises or anything like that, but if you want to talk and use me as a method of reflection on your practices and work out an absolutely concrete, bulletproof way forward to get you completely unstuck, book in for a session. Okay? I don't make it up. It's not... there's an actual framework of how I do these coaching sessions, and everybody walks away with like massive value. So if you can do that, if you want to do that, that would be great. So you can book in for that. Just send me an email, and we can do that. Now that only costs at the minute $75. So you can have like an hour of my time, $75 coaching to get your way forward. The other thing that's happening is the coaching group. So sort of in the regular coaching group and Hutch group, I'm basically doing that. That's $237 right now. If you come onto it, right, and then it absolutely freaks you out, bearing in mind this has never happened with anybody, right, and you absolutely just go, this is not for me, I hate it, I'll just refund you your money. You can have your money back if it doesn't work for you. But if you're sitting there, right, thinking, oh, I wish I could like just write music and be happy and play my guitar and have purpose and connect with the world and all that kind of stuff, then I would definitely consider doing this. And because at the end of the day, fundamentally, the most powerful thing you get out of this, right, is you get me doing the walk with you. I'll walk with you as you make your music and you release it, and you'll have somebody there with you to help you on your way. Okay. So that's that. So do the emails in the description somewhere. I'm terrible at capitalism. I don't have buttons where like all the contact details come up or adverts fly up and stuff like that. Just gotta dig about on the somewhere in the description and find the email. I could type it. Here's the type. Yes. So it's tim@timhutch.uk. Right, and I can highly recommend, because this is part of the reason I'm like really busy, I can highly recommend the one-to-one coaching sessions, because through questioning and then an action plan. When I say an action plan, I'm not going to be making an action plan for you. You'll actually come up with it yourself. This is the beauty of coaching, because often we get the coaching mixed up with the mentoring, mixed up with consultancy, right? And it's a big mess, right? When you and the problems with those two things are, I'll do you an action plan. Right, so that's me telling you what to do, and then sometimes people go away and they go, I feel a bit uncomfortable, or they're not sure, they didn't want to say that they didn't want to do that particular thing, and then they think, oh, maybe I will do it, and then sure enough, they've got absolutely no intention of doing it, and the whole thing falls to pieces, right? So by coaching and that whole thing of me helping you realize your full potential, okay, and use the skills that you've already got, okay, you're going to stand a much greater chance of getting to where you're going, you know, because you're in your comfort zone, and then all we have to do is like just gently expand on that. Right, music time. Right, so here is a track. I hope it works. Hold on. So I've had. Oh, this is what it looks like. It's not. How many tracks have I got, including my mic and the record channel? Oh, there's 45 tracks. No, in fact, I'm not even using the guitar tracks. It's about 44 tracks on this. So, the first thing before we play it is I've just got to check the bass out. Oh, good, it works. Right, we'll have a listen and see what you think. So, I just, initially the idea about this was I was doing, actually check the sound girl out. Oh, not quite. Slightly missed. Can't have everything in the world, can you? Right. So the idea of this is, what I was wanting to do is create a backing track to play guitar over, and then basically do like a little solo breakdown, or just a little kind of thing on how to approach soloing and improvisation, and put a backing track up on the channel, because I thought it would detract quite a bit. But then what I ended up doing was writing a track which I thought, oh, you know what, I should send this to Thomas, and then he's heard it and he's like, oh yeah, let's do this. So we'll be jamming on this, I would imagine, on Saturday, because I've sent him it. Sorry, No, I haven't sent him it. I need to send him it. But anyway, this is the track, and I'll let you hear it. So the way I've designed it, if we're thinking about guitar playing, is the choruses are designed so you can put ad-libs between the melody lines, so it's just awareness of melody lines and then putting ad-libs in. Verses are just verses, thinking like a singer. And then we've got a soulful breakdown, just nice, clean, sort of maybe dynamic sound is what I was thinking. And then we've got a solo which has 2 modulations. I think it goes from like a natural minor to Lydian mode. Interesting enough, the choruses are Mixolydian, so there's a number of different modulations. Actually, I mean, I don't really think of like modes in particular. But anyway, well, have a listen and see what you think. And hopefully it'll work. Here we go. Right, and one moment. Right, we're all ready. Right, and there we go. So we can do a little bit of a look at it. So obviously, like, one thing you'll hear is that I think one interesting thing, firstly, in terms of my own performance with this. Oh, great, Sean. is the gap between when I produce offline to being online with you guys. So that's been interesting, and that's something I'm going to free write on, because obviously I want to do that thing. I don't want to sound like a politician, but be able to level up those two things. I think there's one thing when I'm on my own, like I'm more open to like experiment with things and just chase an idea a little bit more and flail about, where when I'm on a live I don't want to bore people to death by just fiddling on and just things not working all the time. But you don't mind doing that on your own, do you? So there's a bit of leveling up that needs to be going on. But fundamentally, I haven't used any heavy processing plugins at all on this whole thing. In terms of any mixing that I've done, which has basically been zero, has just been done in the vibe of making the track. You know, is this too loud? Is it too quiet? And, you know, if it's too loud, turn it down. If it's too quiet, turn the thing up. That really is it. But we do have, you know, on the channels, like when we look at a typical channel strip on the drums, they're all the same. I've got basically a high pass, low pass filter. And that's actually, the way that I've got it is that high pass and low pass filter is the filter that's on the SSL 4K. So dead easy to use. I don't even have to open the plugin up. I can just do my nice filtering. And I think that the SSL high pass, low pass filters is the most musical way for me to do filtering, okay? Because when I use FabEQ or even the Ableton thing, I tend to go a little bit too hard on it. So I think it's very musical, and it encourages you not to like destroy all of your sounds and then suck the kind of good rough energy out of your track, so to speak. So I think that's very sort of like an important thing. But it's super quick, you know, because I can just nip along and click on any channel, and like anything that I need to like high pass or low pass, it's there. I don't even have to open the plugin. So initially that's really important, because you're keeping the flow of your session when you're writing going, which is why this track's come together really, really quickly. For the basses, so I'll just randomly flick through to the things that like I can remember jumping out of my head. So for the bass, for that one, so there's filter movement on that, and I would encourage anybody to do this. What I did here is I basically macroed the cutoff, and I just performed in the filter movements. With the track, you know, that's been it for that. And then yeah, so I did that on those two sections, and then the bass, I used a slightly different bass. I found just on Diva, just a little preset I tweaked. So that's like really snappy. It's got decent, fairly reasonable low end, and it sounds good mono. And it's got that nice little spikiness about it, which is really cutting through in the mix. And then I've got the usual top bass. Now I love this. Like on the top bass, I think of it like a guitar, so I'm not bothered about anything central. It's just like as close to I can get to hard pan left and right. And that is, I'm just using that. The OPXA, it's the Oberheim synth from the 80s, and it's just a preset I've tweaked. I just take all the effects off it, the Alfie, and then I just basically want some stereo widening, and I used the BX stereo because that felt the most, like sometimes things can get a bit phasey and a bit weird and with artifacts with widening, but I found that one to be the best one in terms of pushing the sides out but not making too much of a big deal in the middle. I know like on the Polychrome plugin, there's a widener on that, and that's particularly good, but in terms of, because it preserves the center and widens, which is super handy, but I wasn't so concerned about that here. So it's just pushed to the sides really is what I was wanting. So when you hear the two things together, it's kind of gelling as one thing. The ARP was a good one because you might have seen me build this chain. So the ARP has some filter movement on it, but I'm actually using this LFO. So this LFO is dialed into the cutoff, and you can actually see down here on the cutoff the way those numbers are moving, that this is just slightly just agitating it, moving the cut up and down, because fundamentally I was just wanting that sound to breathe. So that's all it does. I just set that with the music to something that sounded, I mean, the goal was to make it sound less static. And again, I wanted it to be not in the center, because I'm using the synth I'm using here is the Tal bass line, which I just, like, honestly, like, if you want to just not bother with presets, right, and just quickly make something like an arpeggiated line and just save your life, right, by not flicking through Diva presets, then I highly recommend this, just doing it, trusting yourself, and just fiddling with the sliders, and then you always come up with something slightly different, but more so, you're going to come up with something that's musically sympathetic to all the other instruments that are going on in the track, and that's why it sounds, to me, right most of the time. Otherwise it's just guessing and flicking about, isn't it? We're doing that. And then I just, on Shaperbox, I made like a little panning tool which also has some Hass effects. So panning and hassing is interesting, and that's what's making it, like, when you hear it, just move about. So it's wide, but it's got that movement, it's got space in it, and that just really sits sort of nice. Now, I haven't really thought 100% about all of the space in this track yet, because there's still stuff to be done on the drums. There's drums need panning, I need toms to be panning and things like that, so I haven't got to those. But we're just literally, this track is like, in terms of the back end, it's just ready to go. Those are very small details. But other sort of really interesting things that I've come across, just to make my life easier in this particular track, is I've got basically I'm using the same preset, right, which is a preset I made for the lead. Now, the interesting thing about this lead, right, it's the Tal Juno, which I absolutely love, and it's super cheap and it sounds amazing, right? The thing about this lead, right, that's what it looks like. It looks like Hutch everything, okay? So you could copy that. So the thing about this lead is I'm not using any reverb, I'm not using any delay. It's simply just the synth raw. The only way that I'm thinking about space with this synth is actually in having a long release time. So if I hit a note, ding, that's my reverb. And that's musical, and I want that sound to be there. And you can hear it, so I'm not cranking a reverb up or anything like that, or trying to get a reverb to have that kind of thick musical tone to it. I'm just using the synth. I think it's a classic example, especially in my head, where, because I've only just really thought about this recently, amazingly enough, that, because I just stumbled on it when I was doing the track with Sharon, I was just quickly banging the end in. I thought, God, that synth sounds really good then. It's really prominent, but it's got space. And it was simply, I just didn't put any effects on it. So let's have a listen to how that sounds in the mix, right? And that's it. You know, it's sounding great there. Hi, Black Milk. No, lurking's good. You can lurk as much as you want. Right, so then the only other thing that's actually on that is a bit of OTT, just to kind of drop the mids down a bit, push the high end. A bit of pitch drift, because when there's long notes in a synth, like I'm wanting it to kind of the note to waver a bit, just to make it, and it's almost, you can't quite hear it, but it just you can feel it, and it psychologically makes it more interesting and appealing, and not as straight and clinically clean as having something, you know, perfectly in tune. So I do like using that pitch drift, which is a free plugin by Baby Audio. And I think, and that's all there is on there, you know, just that I've just removed, like, put the high pass on it, and that is it. It's all ready to go. I mean, not really sure what else I would do, to be fair. Then the other thing is I used the same preset pretty much. And then what happened here was, hold on, we'll go. I just fiddled with it and then filtered it down. Again, there's no effects on this. It's just release, and I removed the attack off the sound. And when you hear that, it just nicely sits. It creates that filter, just creates its own space. So when I'm thinking of my space diagrams, which is another thing I do in the coaching thing, I'll get people to think about space on an XY axis. That's really serving the purpose of that particular instrument being in the background and allowing everything else to have space. So that fits wonderfully. I know I'm lashing through this very, very quickly. What was random? That's just, I might actually take that out because I was listening to it in the car and it sounded like weird feedback. But that's just Serum and a Vaporwave preset, and I was just putting that in on that section before the breakdown to add tension. It's like weird alien spaceship hovering sound, isn't it? Now I've thought of that image, I'll leave it in. So that's just like a preset that I found on Splice. I mean, I think with me is part of when I'm making the tracks I really like when I'm making synthwave is when I consciously start thinking about synthwave and vaporwave together and house music. Sort of mixing those things, the integer of those influences usually get me in terms of the sound design of what I'm doing in the ballpark of what I want. Alright, and then we've got the soulful piano chords. Look at these. On an electric piano. I'll just play it on its own. Now I'm going to lo-fi that more. I'm going to stick RC20 on it. And then it just hangs on a chord. And then... because you got to let people know something's going to happen. I just did a pitch shift on the background thing. And then we're into... so this is a combination with, we've got the stab synth, which is actually on the choruses. That. So it's just a pad I put higher up. It's quite a bit of low end. Just cut that off. So I'm just high passing a little bit of that when I've heard it because I know there's too much on there. So that's just sitting on the top, and then I've got the pad underneath it. And then what I did is I just opened the filter actually on the synth. So I just opened the filter on that Juno synth here. You can see it all quite bluntly. automated in, and that's just so it felt like there was some sort of like lift when the solos come in from the verses. And then when we put all of that together, what was interest? This is in the entire track. That's in the whole thing. So that's what the interest's doing. And we've got some additional vocal bits here. Saying something in it. But it's just those like little weird things in the background. It's just ear candy in it. Just extra sort of weirdness, so it's not just straight synths. I really like putting like bits of vocals in just to humanise things. You can just hear that vocal choir in the background. That one. Then it goes into a key change. Resolves. Big shred moment. Back in the chorus. And that's really it. So drum wise, impact, I got a different one. This one, it's actually out of an EDM sample library, this one. So I just thought I'd get a posher, cleaner sounding one. So something like that. This is how quick it is. So I've got my SSL EQ, and then there's a bit of oof on that sound, which I don't want because it's just got to float across everything. And I can just take it off with that high pass, and that's all it took. Usual crash cymbal, interest. Again, I just do this all the time, and it comes from when I was doing house music, and then it's just you can have a straight beat, and then it's just adding something in that I think like, well, nobody else has got this particular thing, and it's like just I'll dump it on there and hope for the best. Toms. So there's like lots of toms in here. So I built a rack of just stuff to go to, but then we've got faded toms, which is actually just a loop I pulled in and edited, and then I've got big toms, which are what are they? And that's just a tom that I've put in, and then I just throw it in on the piano roll and just get it, and then pitch it up and down till it sounds roughly in the tuning. I haven't measured the tuning, I've just literally done it by ear and gone, oh, that's right, I'll do that. As long as the decision's musically and it's done in sympathy with what's there, it's fine. I'm not going to analyse like the fundamentals. And then we've got the drums. So the one interesting thing about the drums is on the snare, I actually shortened it, but I did it by using. So on EXO, right? So the rest of these drums, they're all on EXO, right? And what I'm doing is I'm automating the release on EXO. So fundamentally, when we listen to it, so I've made the snare shorter there, and then I open it up on the choruses. See there? On the verses, it comes down. So I didn't want to use a different snare, I just wanted to use the snare that was there, but just more musical, so I just automated the release really. And that just brings things down, makes them sound tight, and then opened up on the choruses. So on EXO, a really important thing here is that I have like an instrument rack, right? And on the instrument rack, I just have macroed the release, so I can just instantly shorten sounds if I need to. And also I have the pitch, so I can pitch things down. that's just really handy. Those are the two parameters that, I mean, I could have put other things in there, but I'm probably not going to use them, and it would put a cognitive load. So when it comes to musical decisions, pitch and how long the sound is, because I'm thinking about space and tone, aren't I? And that's the drums really, and the drums were made just that the using the explorer mentality. I was just surfing about, basically on the EXO window, looking at my hard drive, and I just wanted vaporwave, and I picked like vaporwave sounds that weren't like hugely, massively spacey, that were just that were punchy and short. That's what I wanted. Right, so I might have a little bit more coffee. So let's have a look. The comments. Oh, there was one more thing that I really liked, and that was, I think this might have been Black Milk who was on a while ago saying add a 303 when I was doing like the breakbeat stuff. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start making that as like a thing on my synthwave track. So I just grabbed the Roland 303 and just just automated in the filter sweeps. It's literally on one note. And then you put that in with everything else and it's great. Yeah, you see, I love that. That's cool, isn't it? Right, okay, so, right, Sean's gonna grab one. Do you have a collection of your drum loops for OX? I think you have mentioned once that you may have put them in a bundle and sell it. Actually, well, there's a good point. So how would I do that? Because, like, I would need to work a way to collect and send them. But you know what it is, Sean? Do I need to do that? What I would do, Sean, is get in touch and have an EXO lesson with me, and then I can just show you a workflow, and then you'll have your own stuff forever, and you'll just be able to make your own drum beats. I think I don't think there's anybody that hasn't got the skills to use EXO and come up with amazing stuff. I really don't, and I think my service to the world would be better spent kind of showing people what I do, and then teaching them what they need, what they want to do, in sympathy with their needs. If that sounds, try not to sound too medical actually about it all. In terms of, you know, what they're trying to do with the music, if that makes any sense. Having said that, give a man a fish. I like that. Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Now, I like that because when we're talking about EXO's brilliant because it capitalizes on what I was talking about before in this, is the explorer. It's allowing us to be an explorer, isn't it? Without opening hard drives. So we can be an explorer, and I love that. And I think it would be a shame for me to give the world a preset pack so they've got it. I think it's better just come for a session and just spend the money, and I'll just give you exactly what you need to know. And you never ever need to do that ever again, really. You can just go off and explore, be an explorer. If that's okay, Sean. Because I would rather kit you out to be an explorer with your hat, net to catch drums in. Yeah, you know, like butterflies. I'm going to have that one. And then load them into EXO and off you go. Right. So as I say, there's I'm doing quite a bit of one-to-one coaching at the minute. It's $75. If you want to do, yeah, it sounds good. But book in, Sean. Don't, if you want to do that, don't hang around. Do it, and then I can show you, because then I'll sleep a lot easier knowing that Sean is now completely and utterly a drum sovereign island of his own and can make any drums that he wants and doesn't need anybody in the world, right? Especially me, right? And you can just do your thing. I mean, it'd be a great position to be in. So apart from that, I've now started doing like music production one-to-ones, but if you want to book in for a coaching session one-to-one, just $75 for that now at the minute. I will be putting the price up though, but it's $75, and we can get you sort of moving. So just drop an email and ask about that if you want to just do a one-to-one hour thing. Other than that, there's the coaching group, the regular one, which I think is just going to be called Hutch, right? And that one is $237. And if you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. But you have to try it for a month at least. But like, if you freak out and go, I don't want this, I just want to, I don't know, do something else, then that's fine. I'll just give you your money back. But I've never had to do that ever. Not once in my career has anybody gone, I'm just like, I hate this. Everybody's pushed through and got the results. Touch wood. That's plastic. We'll just have to rely that my head's made out of wood. So do book in for that, and that is it really. I can't give you any more today because I'm exhausted. I wasn't expecting actually to talk as long about the Ali book, which is absolutely amazing. I highly recommended it, and I was instantly inspired in the first chapter. Yeah, so it is. So the coaching, I should say more about it. Thanks for reminding me, Sean. You should really run this for me. So basically what happens is for $237, right, you meet me once a week and we make music together. That's what we do for 2 hours. And that's going to be, at the moment, you've got two choices. There's a Wednesday morning and there is a Thursday evening session. So there's one at 5 in the morning, and then there's one at 5:30 in the morning on a Wednesday, and then there's one 8 o'clock on a Thursday. And those are the times at the minute. There will be a third group. Well, I have another third group as well, but that's a different thing altogether. That's the GoPro group, and that's a different thing. So I do actually have a group of people as we speak who are going pro, and that it's not for the weak-hearted, that one, because the GoPro thing is about basically you making a business out of your music, where you're actually going to leave your regular job and go off into the sunset and live your life as a musician. That's what it's about, or at least getting as close to that as you can. But you have to go into it with the mentality of like, this is it, I'm quitting and I'm gonna become the thing I've always wanted to be. So if you want to do that, there is the GoPro thing, but it is very sort of it's a completely different vibe altogether in that one. But the thing with that is it's purely about making money out of music. I mean, one thing I do is make money out of music. That bit's all right. Making money out of your music can be a broad thing. It doesn't mean that you're going to be a rock star, but it means you can make quite a decent living, better than a lot of other types of livings you could be doing as a skilled person. It's quite surprising. But anyway, at the minute, the coaching group, meeting up for 2 hours, making lots of music, taking you through a creative process that's going to serve you well for the rest of your lives when you're making music, and that's $237 per month for 2 hours a week with me in a room, if you can stand it. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to have to head off now because I've got to do my other regular duties. And it's been great being on the live. Obviously, there's going to be at least one live a week, okay? So let's do that for now. I'm not sure what's happening for next week, apart from there will be another live, so just watch out for that. And I'll see you guys next week. All right. Oh, no. Saturday. I know I keep saying that and it doesn't happen, but Saturday, we are assured that me and Thomas will be live, and we'll probably be shredding on this new track. All right, then. I'll see you later. Bye.